Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Doctors of Running podcast, where we, a group of doctors of physical therapy, discuss the art and the science of the stuff that we're putting on our feet. I'm Andrea Myers, and I'm here today with David Salas to do a second edition of our favorite shoes of 2024. Matt and Nathan recorded theirs last week. We couldn't join them for various reasons, so now we're here to talk about the shoes that we've loved the most in the first half of the year. How are you doing, David? What's going on this weekend?
Oh, nothing much. Just recovering. It's been a busy last few weeks. All things outside of running. Haven't been running as much, just kind of ramping back up from the injury, just trying to get healthy and get some consistent mileage under me. So I haven't really been running too quick. But yeah, a lot of other things. Brought on a new hire at work, so doing all that stuff.
Nice. That's good.
All the training and whatnot, and that's going pretty well so far, but a little busy, but doing good. Yeah.
Excellent.
Just relaxing.
Nice. All right. So today's subjective, of course, we're talking about our favorite shoes of the year. So we want to know what your favorite shoes are so far this year. So we're covering a few categories: daily trainer, favorite max stack shoe, lightweight trainer or performance trainer, racing shoe. And then we're also going to talk about what our favorite budget or sale shoe from 2023 is. So leave us what your favorites are in the comments. But then we also have a second part to today's subjective. David needs a little bit of help from you guys. So as you can see, David's got a new recording location in his place, and it needs a little bit behind him, even though, behind me isn't very fancy. So what should David put back there? Leave your suggestions in the comments.
Yes. Help is needed. We need to get something on there.
Crowdsourcing interior decorating through Doctors of Running. Love it. All right. So David, let's start with favorite daily trainer, and let's hear what your pick is for the first half of this year.
Yeah, so that's a very spicy question because there's been some good ones through the first half of the year so far, and There's been some that I've really liked, and yeah, some that I've kept gravitating to, and then one that I put on today that I think I'm really gonna like. So. But traditionally, up until this point, prior to today, now this one I feel like double dips a little bit, so I will. With some reservation, I will probably say for the max stack shoe for me as well. We can kind of go into that a little bit later, but the On Cloud Monster Hyper has been a good shoe for me. Nice. I really like the inner core of that Piba midsole, that Helon HF. It's very bouncy, very lively. It has a decent amount of softness to it, but then the Cloud Tech around it almost acts like a little J-frame in there, and it kind of firms up that structure just a tad to where it kind of stabilizes it a little bit and kind of keeps you moving linear. I kind of like that there's no plate in it, even though like everything on ever has plates, but It feels nice to not have one and kind of have just even though a rigidity, but a little bit of flexibility when it's loaded. It just works for my mechanics, and it's a fun shoe to run in, and I can kind of eat up miles quite a bit. But that is kind of a max stack option as well. The other neutral option that I've been really liking has been the Puma Velocity Nitro 3. I'm notorious for messing up Puma shoes. I have no idea why. I'm so sorry, Puma. But I got it right. I got it right on that one. I had to pause.
Good job.
Same thing. Kind of like that classic high drop, neutral, very just neutral training shoe. Like nothing overly fancy about it, but the Nitro foam has a decent amount of cushioning to it. Traction underfoot's pretty good. It's a little bit narrow, like definitely of a neutral mechanic type shoe, but it works with my mechanics. I can eat up miles on it all day. But the other one that I really like, and I really liked the previous version of this shoe, so I'm happy that I continue to really like this shoe, is the new Noosa, the Asics Noosa Tri 16. Yeah. I put 12 in this morning. Too. Yeah, it was so nice. So I don't know. This might end up becoming kind of like a daily trainer workout shoe for me, in the future. I was just breaking it in today, but I really liked it. It was just a little bit softer than the previous version, had a little bit more bounce, but that's not a problem at all because the other one was already pretty good. So it was already pretty firm. So like softening it a little bit doesn't really make it that soft per se, It keeps a lot of that DNA in there. So I really liked it. But I'd say those are probably like my daily trainers right now on a first inkling. That would have just bumped off the Saucony Ride 17 there. As much as it pains me, I did like that shoe a lot, but I think those shoes do slide a little bit in front of it.
Yeah, the Ride 17 is a nice shoe too. I was considering it for my pick for this, but my pick is actually a shoe that came out in December 2023, but Bach was nice enough to let me still choose it today. So that's the Asics Nova Blast 4.
Oh, that was a December release. You're right.
I had to go back and look.
Yeah, I remember because, our roundups, we were like, do we put this as 2022? Do we put it as 2024? Yeah. Sorry.
So I got Bach approved to choose it for this episode. So this is by far the best fitting Asics shoe I've ever tested. And I've been running an Asics like since age 5. I love this shoe for easy miles. It fits so nicely. It has this really nice midfoot wrap. It's hard to show on the video, but the tongue is really nicely integrated with the upper. You put your foot in, lace it up and go. The cushioning is, I hate really soft shoes. I don't like shoes that feel like marshmallows. And this shoe has plenty of cushion, but it's not overly soft. It's comfortable for me for midfoot landings. The only time I really notice the huge heel bevel it has, or the huge posterior sole flare it has, is if I'm running like super slow. But if I'm running like normal, easy pace, I don't notice the heel at all. But it's relatively lightweight. Let me look and see what
it's pretty light. Yeah.
Yeah. 7.9 ounces for women's size 8. So that's pretty good for a shoe with a stack of 40.5 in the heel, 32.5 in the forefoot for women. Men is 1 millimeter taller in both places. But yeah, pretty lightweight for what really could be considered a maximal stack height shoe. So another thing I really like about it is they really did a good job with the AHAR rubber outsole. Really good traction on the wet roads, which that hasn't always been the case with Asics shoes. So yeah, this is out of all the 2024 and late 2023 daily trainers, this is definitely my pick. I've got a bunch of miles on it. Definitely keep running in it. The Ride 17 would probably be my runner-up shoe. The shoe I really wanted to choose for this, but we're going to talk about shortly, is the Mizuno Rebellion Flash shoe. I actually do easy miles in this shoe too, but we'll save that for shortly.
Yeah.
So let's move on to our favorite max stack shoe of 2024. So I know you mentioned the Cloud Monster Hyper. Is that your number one pick, or do you have another one that you like better?
That would be my number one pick. Yeah. So it's kind of like how you were saying with the Nova Blast, where it's kind of like this in between where it's like, it's max stack, but it's not like 45. Well,
right.
Like it's not like it's super high up, but it's still pretty high up. I forgot, what was the stack height on that in the heel? Was it 43, 42?
I've got it here. It's 40 in the heel, 34 40. In the forefoot. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And another lightweight shoe. It's 9.3 ounces for men's size 9, 7.5 for women's size 8. You know, it's really nice having several max stack options that aren't, bricks on your feet, like that you can pick up the pace in.
Yeah, so the Cloud Monster Hyper definitely was probably number one. Another one, there might be a little bit of recency bias, but I do like it. It is the Asics Magic Speed 4. I don't have it in hand right here. It's just outside the door, unfortunately. But that one's nice too, because it's like, that one's 41 in the heel, I think. And that one, it has Flight Foam Turbo, still kind of has that firm, bouncy feel to it. Pretty rounded forefoot, like you can kind of fall into rhythm pretty easily, especially once the pace starts picking up. And I could definitely see that being like a long run monster where you're just trying to log in like marathon type workouts. So that one's great. If I'm like slugging around and just like easy peasy, just shuffling the Hoka Skyward X, I do like that shoe. I know that one's kind of polarizing amongst the group, but the sidewalls don't seem to be too intrusive for me. I feel them, but they don't like cause any irritation or anything. And just kind of like your classic, just soft, bouncy, compliant, high stack shoe, like rocker plated. Has a very familiar feel to it. It's definitely the softest Hoka I've ever run in, at least subjectively from what I've felt. So if there's anyone out there listening that's like, hey, I want something just super soft, high stack, stiff rockered shoe, like that is that. So
Yeah, I liked the Skyward too, and most Hokas the sidewalls bother me, but the Skyward, I was aware of them, but it wasn't like the Mach or the Rincon where like I get blisters from the sidewalls. So I definitely liked Skyward X2. It is, I would agree, it's definitely a soft shoe. I would say it's probably less than number 3 for me for top max stack shoes. So my runner up is actually Cloud Monster Hyper, but my hands down favorite max stack shoe is
I know what it is.
the Neo Vista. I can't believe that. It's crazy. If you had asked me like at this time last year if I would choose 3 Mizuno shoes as my favorite, I would have said no. But Mizuno has just like hit it out of the park this year. And this shoe is amazing. I have used it for like slog recovery runs. I've used it for like medium long runs, just regular easy runs, and it can handle everything. What I'm particularly impressed about is you can see it's got this huge cutout in the sole. And it really lets like the medial and lateral side of the shoe adapt to the terrain. One of my runs I did in this shoe, it was like a point to point, I think it was 12 miles, but it was on really crowned roads. And I was like, I'm going to do this. And if this shoe is going to suck on crowned roads, I'm going to know by the end. But my feet were so comfortable. Like I could have kept going, till 20 miles and been fine. Nice. So that run really confirmed like this shoe, because a lot of max stack shoes are just good at running easy. And that's great. But to have a max stack shoe that you can pick up the pace a little bit in, it's not heavy, it's not clunky. This shoe is like head and shoulders beyond any max stack shoe I've tested. I loved the SC Trainer one, but I could only run like super easy in it because it was so heavy.
Yeah, it was like 11 ounces, wasn't it? At least men's size 9. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. The Neo Vista, it's 9.4 ounces for men's 9 and 7.8 for women's 8. With a 44.5 millimeter stack in the heel and 36.5 in the forefoot. So to have that much foam and it to be that lightweight and it to perform that well at super easy, up tempo paces, be able to run with it on crowned roads. I think every run I did in this shoe, the roads were either wet or it was raining. No issues with traction. And this shoe is $180. Which compared to many other, super trainers, it's a very good value. So without question, my top max stack daily trainer. But I definitely agree with you that the Cloud Monster Hyper is another awesome max stack shoe. For me, this, like, as you called it, the J frame or like the orange Cloud Tech frame around the softer Piba midsole, you can see that it's asymmetrical. Like it doesn't extend as far forward on the lateral side as it does on the medial side. And for me, because I land basically here, it makes it really comfortable to land here. But then having it a little bit stiffer here actually made it feel like it provided a little bit of guidance into push off for me. So I thought that was a really interesting use of like, non-traditional stability method to provide guidance, especially for someone who lands further forward like me. I love the soft Piba midsole, particularly in the midfoot and forefoot. It feels amazing. I wouldn't use this shoe for like a faster run. I took it on, I can't remember how long it was, maybe 10 or 12 miles, like minute slower than marathon pace. And it just felt a little clunky to me. Even though it's not a heavy shoe, it weighs pretty much the same as the Neo Vista. But I think because the heel is so stiff, that affected how it performs at faster paces for me. So for me, this is definitely an easy run shoe, but really well designed, really comfortable upper. So did a really good job with this one.
They took a lot of inspiration off of the Cloudboom Echo 3 too, which I know you liked a lot. Yeah,
I do. Yeah. I finally got to race in the Cloud. I know Cloudboom Echo 3 isn't a 2024 shoe, but I've done a few races in it finally this year, a mile, a road race, and a 5K. And that has definitely confirmed what I thought initially, that it's definitely a shorter race shoe for me. But
Yeah, for
really
me too. Yeah.
nice running shoe. Yeah. Okay, so next category is favorite lightweight trainer or performance trainer. So what are your picks, David?
Yeah, so this one might end up changing too, but for right now, I have a second pair of it. So if it looks like it is perfectly clean and unused, it's because it's perfectly clean and unused. But I assure you, I have plenty of miles on my other pair. But it's the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4. Lightweight, it has decent flexibility, even though it's plated, so it has a little bit of rigidity, still kind of snappy. I like the traction underfoot that they switched that lattice design. I feel like I can kind of go I can go slow, I can go fast, I can go long, and it doesn't feel overly soft in any way. Like, it does feel softer than the previous models to me, though, like the way the heel is. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit clunky at first on break-in, but then once it breaks in, like after a couple miles, I noticed that that kind of went away in the heel there. But yeah, it's good. It's just kind of a lightweight, neutral performance trainer, and it has a decent amount of cushion. It has a little bit of flexibility up front, but a really grippy forefoot, so it really lets you kind of power off of that forefoot. And so I've been able to take it on hard track workouts too, and then also do long tempo runs and long runs and easy efforts and warm-ups, cool downs. It's kind of like that versatile Swiss Army knife that you can pretty much do anything in. So really liking the Endorphin Speed 4. The other one that came to mind, which I did talk about a little bit earlier, the Noosa comes back.
Nice.
So it's one of those things, like that was, if I remember correctly, I think that was my lightweight trainer on the previous model when it had came out. It was either that or runner up. I couldn't remember, but it was definitely in the conversation. And that it's just a fun shoe. It's just lightweight. It's nimble. There's no plate or anything. There's no shenanigans. There's a little bit of a toe spring. You're kind of rolling forward, and you kind of like want to keep eating the ground. This is kind of the way it feels. So it's a very lively shoe in that regard. So only time will tell on that one. That one is also really lightweight. I mean, it's pretty responsive. I wouldn't say it's as responsive as the Endorphin Speed 4, but you can still do quite a bit in it. It might be a little less cushioned. Like if you're going to go like 20 miles, the Endorphin Speed 4 probably would win. But I just haven't done enough work in the Noosa yet to give it a full, review, synopsis, give it a pick. But that's definitely going to be on my feet for some time. Like, when you put something on, you're like, oh, I like this.
Yeah. I just got the Noosa and the Magic Speed 4 yesterday. And yeah, I would agree, just walking around the house in the Noosa, it's like, yeah, I'm going to like this shoe. It kind of, and I haven't run in it, so of course walking around is not the same, but it gives me a little bit of Cyclone 2 vibes in like...
A little bit.
It's a little lower to the ground. I don't know what the stack is. And it just feels like it's maybe a little more flexible, like the Cyclone 2.
Did you run in the previous Noosa?
I've never run in the Noosa. This is
Gotcha.
my first one. Yeah.
The heel in this one's a little softer. So the previous one was like a pretty firm EVA kind of feel to it. And then it was kind of like a sharper rocker up front. Mm-hmm. So this one I noticed almost immediately. It's still a structured, so those listening that are Noosa fans, because there are Noosa fans for sure. The heel has just a little bit more compression to it. And I think it kind of gives those Cyclone-esque vibes because of that. It just has a little bit more give in that foam. Like that used to be a pretty hard foam. Mm-hmm. And, but yeah, you're right. There's a decent amount of flexibility up front and good traction. It's just lightweight, nice little sidewalls. Yeah. I mean, I could totally see the Cyclone comparison. It's not quite a PIBA based midsole, not quite as light and flexible, like as low to the ground as the Cyclone, but it definitely has similar feelings, reminiscent of that. I could see that.
And you did your run in that shoe on trails today, right?
Both. Yeah.
Road in the Noosa, yeah. So it's definitely also your trail shoe of the year.
Definitely. There were some trails. Yeah. I almost ate it on one of them, but
the Noosa saved you.
But the Noosa saved me.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, my pick for this is no surprise. One, because I mentioned it already, but two, it's the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Flash 2. I've got over 150 miles on this shoe, and I think I got it in January, maybe. This shoe, I can do easy runs in, I can do workouts in it. You can see I've like completely ruined the upper because we've gotten so much rain, but it's in great shape. I mean, it's dirty. The outsole, you can see a little wear like where I land, but
looks good.
Yeah, it looks good. I think I'm going to get a ton of miles on this shoe. So what I love about the Rebellion Flash 2 and the Rebellion Pro 2 is the really extreme heel bevel. And of course, it's less extreme in the Flash 2 than it is in the Pro 2. It just feels like this shoe was designed for where I land. So I land at my lateral midfoot. It's so comfortable. It feels so natural. Of course, the heel doesn't get in the way because it's not there. We had a really great podcast with the Mizuno design team a couple weeks ago. Check that out on podcast and YouTube. But they told us what the foot angle is for each of their shoes. So the Flash 2 and the Neo Vista, the angle of the foot in the shoe is 5 degrees. And in the Rebellion Pro 2, it's 11 degrees. And they said they came to those numbers based on research they did at many various angles. I think it ranged from like 3 degrees to 15 degrees, if I remember correctly. And they found that for like mid-pace workouts or like, up-tempo runs, people preferred the 5-degree angle of the Flash 2. So that's why they gave it and the Neo Vista the 5-degree foot angle. But then for racing, they found when you're running faster, they found that people prefer the 11-degree angle in the Wave Rebellion Pro 2. They did also tell us, just in case anyone's wondering and hasn't listened to that podcast, Wave Rebellion Pro 1 had a 6-degree foot angle. So there is, and if you've run both shoes, you can definitely feel the difference just in the shoe geometry. But there's a huge difference in feel between Pro 1 and Pro 2. I would definitely say that Pro 1 feels more like Flash 2 than it does Pro 2. And that makes sense now, knowing that the foot angle of Pro 1 is 6 degrees and Flash 2 is 5 degrees. So, I mean, I love running in this shoe. Like, I know no matter like how crappy my legs feel, how tired I am, like it's just gonna work. And I can use it for like easy runs where I have like some pickups in the middle, strides. I don't like using it for really fast-paced workouts. Like I've been doing a lot of like 5K and mile pace intervals, and I'm obviously not using it for that. But if I'm doing like 10K or slower intervals, this shoe is great. But again, it does it all. And that's what a performance trainer is supposed to do. Let me pull up the specs just in case people are wondering. 8.5 ounces for men's size 9. I don't have it for the women's, but it's 35 millimeters in the heel, 34.5 in the forefoot. Those drop numbers are not really because they're measuring it here. So this shoe feels to me, more like the way like a 4 or a 6 millimeter drop shoe would feel. This shoe is not like ultra feeling for sure. So with the Flash 2 and the Pro 2, ignore the drop numbers because they really don't reflect the way the shoe runs for sure.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd say it feels like a 4 to 6.
Yeah. Traction in the shoe is great. They put this really nice rubber outsole on it. As you can see, I've done a lot of running in the rain in it, and it's just, I have zero complaints about the shoe. I will say I go up a half size in the Pro, in the Flash, and the Neo Vista. So others may need to do the same. So let's see. So let's move on to favorite racing shoe.
Racing shoes. Got my caffeine
What races
ready.
have you done? I know you have done a few track races this year, right, David? Have you done any? You did some road races at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I got to think about it. So let me think. So Did I do any road races this year? I don't know if I did.
I don't know.
I came off of CIM in December.
Oh,
and
right.
then I don't know if I raced again until track. I got sick a bunch. I got sick 2 or 3 times. Yeah, and then track season was a little bit of a bust for me. So it's been a rough 2024 so far. But I did race. I ran in the A6 Metaspeed Edge Paris for a track 5K. And that was good. I liked it. I did feel like the in a track 5K. Have you run a track 5K?
Yes, but like 4 years ago. I don't even remember what shoe I wore. I probably wore the Saucony Endorphin Pro 1.
Nice. Because like with track 5Ks, I feel like they're so different from road 5Ks in that everyone's so tight together the whole time. And there's a lot of kind of like jostling and like contact and like little surges and kind of stops. And like the flow is never like perfectly locked in. And I will say the change of pace kind of wore on me a little bit, where the shoe likes to be in rhythm. And when the rhythm keeps getting disrupted, you're kind of trying to find the rhythm. But when there's no one around you, it was good. I liked it. It was responsive, lightweight. You know, I could definitely run a 5K in it. My performance that day wasn't the greatest, but that wasn't the shoe's fault. That was me.
Don't blame the shoe unnecessarily.
I got to the last mile feeling about as fresh as those legs could feel, you know, given the circumstances of my own fitness.
Right. Also, even the fittest, you know, freshest individual shouldn't feel fresh in the last mile of a 5K.
That's true too. That is true. And then the next 5K I spiked up, and that's kind of when my foot and my heel were already giving me some problems leading up into that. I should have never spiked up to begin with. Honestly, probably shouldn't have done the race. You know, that was my call. And yeah, I'm living with the repercussions of that decision now. If I wore the flats, I might have been able to turn it around quicker. I don't know. Hard to say.
Yeah.
But the spikes really, really upset that heel. But yeah, I think those are my only 2 races. I don't think I've raced any other time this year, which is wild because I usually do race a few times by now.
Right. Yeah.
So it'll be kind of a quiet year for 2024 racing wise, but we'll try and get a good half marathon in the fall. I think that's going to be kind of the main focus of the year. But yeah, I'm trying to think like last year, what did I race in? Since I raced more last year, did the Nike Vaporfly Next% 3 for a half, a 4-mile time trial. For the full, I wore the Saucony Endorphin Elite twice because I did the Ventura Marathon in February and then the CIM in Sacramento, both Endorphin Elites. For those that, if you're new to the show, I like the Saucony Endorphin Elite. That's just for like the long road racing type races. That has kind of been my go-to. But there are some shoes that are knocking on that doorstep right now. So I have some hard decisions, you know, to make when I do race again at those distances. It's not quite as clear cut anymore for me.
So which ones are competing with the Endorphin Elite for you?
Yeah. And that's where we kind of segue into 2024, right? So
yeah.
I would say right now, anything 10K below, it is really hard to beat the A6 Metaspeed Edge Paris. There's a reason why I chose to wear it on that track 5K, you know, where it's like, it felt like I could do it. And you could. There's no reason why you can't. I think it was my own, like, I also hadn't been on the track in a couple of years. So I think my own, like, just getting back into it and like the rhythm of 5K racing on the track. But that shoe is super responsive, super lightweight. It's under 7 ounces. It's like, I want to say it's 6.6 or 6.7 ounces men's size 9. It's like just a little bit lighter than the Vaporfly.
Yeah. That's super light.
Yeah. And then it can totally go half marathon. I'm debating on wearing that for that distance. I know some people think it's not like quite supportive enough, or like it might just be a little aggressive for that. I know like Klein loves the shoe, but he personally wouldn't take it marathon. I know he has said several times. But the other one that comes up for me is the Nike Alphafly Next% 3.
Yeah.
Alpha Fly 1 was a hit for me, and then Alpha Fly 2 not so much, but they brought it back, and super responsive, lightweight. They got it down right around that 7.0 ounce range, if I'm correct, for a men's size 9.
Mm-hmm.
And traction's pretty good on the forefoot. It's a little slippy through the midfoot and the heel, depending on what you're running on, but it just has this like super lively just forefoot bounce when you like really like lean into that shoe. And like even at marathon paces, like once you kind of get your stride going and you're like up on there, it's lively and it just kind of keeps you going. And I do feel like them filling in the midsole and then kind of giving it the deep midline groove and kind of changing up that design slightly did make it a little bit more stable on the platform too, and a little bit less harsh on the inside arch, because that was an area that I'd get some irritation on the Alpha Fly 1 and 2. So I think they cleaned up enough things to really make that thing a killer. And obviously, like the Nike athletes have been running well in it that have chosen to run in it. But granted, Nike kind of has the most money and they get the best athletes anyways for the most part. So hard to say if that's the shoe, you know. It's like when you look at all the Nike and Adidas podiums, it's like, well, they're all amazing freaking athletes. Like they're going to podium in anything. And then it's like you put Bekele and Anta, and then it's like Bekele still goes and runs 204, right? So it's like, not that Anta's a bad product. I really like the Anta super shoe as well. But like they're amazing world-class athletes, and they're going to be amazing world-class athletes regardless of whatever is on their foot. So.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. The major thing for them is finding something that's comfortable and works with their mechanics. But as long as it does, there's probably several shoes they could run, you know, sub 205 for the guys or sub 220 for the women.
Sub 215 now.
Yeah.
Sub 212.
Seriously.
Take us to Cepha.
Sub 210 soon.
It's crazy. Like it's crazy. It's awesome to see though. My gosh.
It's so exciting. And I think it's interesting to see several mid-distance runners
stepping up,
particularly women, step up to the marathon distance and run so fast. And it would be really interesting to have like a biomechanist on to talk about like why super shoes might help a mid-distance runner run so fast in the marathon, whereas if they were using, you know, shoes from 15 or 20 years ago, they might not have given the same benefit.
Yeah. That, and I'll just go on the air, women are tougher than men. So you take someone that has leg speed and they go and put it to the pavement for a while. Like, man, yeah, they're just some of the most grittiest racers. Like watching like Sifan Hassan in London was like insane.
Oh my gosh. She is amazing.
What a race. Like,
yes.
I just love the post-race interview on that. It's like so wholesome. Gosh. And it's like, I love that it's like become a meme, but at the same time, it's just like, it's amazing. Like if you haven't seen the post-interview race of London Marathon with Sifan Hassan, please go look it up.
Yes. Yeah. She says first of all, she won after stopping to stretch 2 or 3 times and then chasing back onto the lead pack. And then she wins the London Marathon in a sprint. And it's her first marathon. And in the post-race interview, she basically says, I can't believe I finished a marathon. Right. And she's talking about how, like, when she was training for it, that she would, you know, doubt herself and say, why did I decide to do this? Why do I want to run a marathon? And, you know, like those of us mortals who also run marathons and have had the same thoughts, it's like, oh, well, you know, one of the fastest runners in the world and the most accomplished at like every distance has the same thoughts that I do, you know?
Yeah, that was when she was like, I was crying this morning. I never cry. Such a wholesome interview. Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. I can't wait to hear what races she decides to do at the Olympics. Like,
I know she could run any event and medal. Yeah. Like, maybe not the 8. I don't know. I don't know what her 800 speed is.
Right. Yeah.
She might though. I mean, like she's run what, 354-ish for 15?
I think
maybe
so.
faster.
Yeah.
Maybe 350. Faith Kipyegon went 347, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Or was it 349? No, maybe it was 349. Still sub 350. So, but I think Sifan ran like 351 or 2. I don't know. but that's
She'll
wheels.
do
So
that
if
in
you can do that,
2028.
maybe she can medal at the 800. I don't know. Yeah, medal at the
And
800 to marathon.
how many athletes can just like pick, 2 months out from the Olympics, what events they're going to do?
Right.
Not very many. Yeah.
I will say though, that women's 800 right now is spicy. Now that I'm thinking about it, between I mean, we haven't really seen a Thing Mo run yet, but a Thing Mo, Keely Hodgkinson is looking phenomenal right now. She's run 155 twice, I think. And then you have Gemma Riki, also from the UK. You've got a couple other athletes that can really throw down. Like, that's going to be an interesting 800 final for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Mary Mora does.
Yep.
She was one who won Worlds last year. Yeah. Yeah, it's women's racing. I mean, men's racing is exciting too, but women's racing is really exciting right now. There's just, some crazy stuff happening.
But yeah, what are your picks?
Oh, yeah, we've segued so
We're
far.
just like, yeah. We got to give the people what they want. Yeah.
So racing in 2024 for me, my top pick would be the Rebellion. Oh, wrong one. Same color. This one's less dirty. Rebellion Pro 2. Wave Rebellion Pro 2. I was going to race it in Osaka. I got COVID 2 weeks before Osaka, so I didn't go. So that sucked. But if my next marathon is going to be in this shoe. Like, no shoe has felt as good at marathon pace as this shoe does for me. So I'm not running a marathon this year. I'm focusing on shorter distances, but Rebellion Pro 2 is just, it. Like I said with the Flash, it just feels like it was designed for the way I land. That 11-degree foot angle feels like perfect for marathon to half marathon pace for me. I go up a half size for length, but they really did a good job widening the toe box in version 2. I found version 1 to be definitely narrower in the toe box than this one, so definitely improved fit. They thinned out the heel counter in version 2, and I was a little worried initially that would bother me, but I had zero issues with the heel. So just really easy to lock down, super lightweight on foot. Similarly, I mean, this shoe has the best traction out of any racing shoe I've ever worn. Like, it just, you can feel it like biting into the ground. It reminds me of a similar... It is, yeah. Like, it feels like having like a gravel tire on my bike where like it bites into the ground. Whereas like so many other shoes, like you're just looking for the shoe to not slip. But this shoe actually feels like it grabs the ground a little bit. And you can actually feel that pretty significantly like when turning. I didn't find this shoe to be particularly unstable, like doing U-turns. I know other people do.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of a hard time with like steeper turns.
Yeah.
Where I've kind of had to tiptoe a little bit. But I love the shoe. Yeah, it's super fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So next marathon will definitely be in these, or version 3. Whenever they're coming out with that, we'll see. Mizuno told us they've got some really exciting stuff for 2025, so looking forward to that. So this would definitely be my number one race shoe of this year if I had gotten to race in it. So shoe that I actually raced in this year was the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4. I've raced in every version of the Endorphin Pro. The Endorphin Pro 1 was my first super shoe, which I loved. I've raced one marathon in the Endorphin Pro 3. Really liked it for that. Although all of the previous versions, like you mentioned, just didn't have that great of rubber outsole. And they've done a much better job with traction in version 4. Again, we've had so much rain. I've done a lot of wet running in this shoe, and I haven't had any traction issues in Endorphin Pro 4. So Endorphin Pro 4 for me is very different than the Endorphin Pro 3. Pro 3 was much softer, super comfortable. I could use Pro 3 for any distance. I think I used it in a 10-mile race. I don't know if I used it in anything shorter, but used it in a marathon. But Pro 4 for me, it's so firm and so responsive that I like it for fast, short races. So I used it in a 5K in April. I was only like, I think I had less than 2 months of training in after having COVID and like taking a month off. And I was like 5 seconds off my 5K PR.
Oh, there you go.
So I was happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad, right? And I had zero complaints about the shoe. It's comfortable. It fits really nicely. It fits long. I've always gone up a half size in the Endorphin line, both the Speed and the Pro. And, Saucony always just sends me a half size up. When I got the half size up of the 4, I was like, oh no, I think I actually need my regular size. But they didn't have it at first. So I was like, all right, I'll just try running in this. And it actually felt perfect. Like it felt like the added length actually made the shoe line up with my first MTP better. I have short toes, so like a lot of rockers just don't line up with my forefoot because of that. But this shoe, it's there. Oh, sorry. Peanut almost fell off the bed there. She's okay, everyone. Don't worry.
Peanut is okay. All right.
Yeah, good. Peanut is okay. So I think for me, I probably wouldn't use this shoe in anything longer than like a 10K. Although I'm doing the Big 7 next month, which is a 7-mile race, and it's really hilly. I might use this in that race. Yeah. I don't know. Thinking about it. It's pretty lightweight. I think the women's is, let me pull it up. Women's is 6.5 ounces for a women's 8. So, I mean, we're not talking like Vaporfly light, but that's still pretty lightweight for a racing shoe. Men's is 7.7 ounces.
That sounds right.
Yeah. But for short races, this is my definite top pick of 2024. The other shoe I've been racing in, because I've done a couple road miles as well as a couple other 5Ks, is the Cloud Monster. Not Cloud Monster, on Cloud Boom Echo 3. We've talked about the Cloud Monster Hyper so much, it's on my mind.
I was like, they're going to be right selling out of Cloud Monsters here in a second.
Right.
They're going to be like, Andrea's racing in it
shoe?
too?
Yeah. Like, no, do not use the Cloud Monster Hyper for a 5K. I do not recommend it. The Cloud Boom Echo 3 I've used for a road mile, 2 road miles, and a 5K. 1 5K, 2 5Ks. Yeah. And I think I like it pretty similarly to the Endorphin Pro 4. I think Cloud Boom Echo 3 is a little bit lighter. I don't think it's under 6 ounces for women, but
I think it's 7.4. I want to say men's size 9.
Okay. Yeah. So then it's probably like a few tenths of an ounce lighter for the women's too. But I would say the difference between Cloud Boom Echo 3 and Endorphin Pro 4, I don't notice the heel of Cloud Boom Echo 3 at all. Like, even if I'm using it for like a workout where I'm doing like an easy warm up and cool down in it, I can run easy in it and like the heel just isn't there. Whereas I definitely notice the heel in Endorphin Pro 4 at slower paces. But again, these are racing shoes, so you're not running slow in them. But I would say by a hair, Cloud Boom Echo 3 probably feels a little more natural for me than Endorphin Pro 4. But I like both of them quite a bit, actually. So we'll see what I end up picking for the Bix. I'm doing a 5-mile race on July 4th. So I'll probably use the same shoe I want to use for the Bix in that 5-mile race. So we'll see.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one.
Yeah. I'm having so much fun doing shorter races this spring and summer. Yeah, I was a mid-distance runner. So like all this marathon training was definitely not like what I'm used to. Yes. Even though I had fun doing it, I am really having fun like going to the track and like actually running really fast 2 times a week.
Yeah.
So our last category, which I like this category, actually, I don't know who came up with it, but I think it's a good one. So, it's 2024. So all of the shoes from last year are starting to go on sale. So what is your favorite pick from last year that's on sale now that people should check out?
Yeah, if they're still on sale, because you know how everything's kind of filtering out now for the new wave.
Yeah.
There's been a couple like Saucony wide sales across different platforms. I've seen Running Warehouse, I think, hit upwards of like 40% off on some of those models, which is really good. If
Yeah.
it like the ride, if you could snag one of those, that's a great deal in value. I think I got like 200 miles on my last one. And that could have kept going. You know, we just review so many shoes. At a certain point, I have to say bye to them.
Right.
Or else I have way too many. That's a good one. I saw the Noosa, the old Noosa was on sale, I think, for right around 100, which is a great value for that shoe. If it's still there, I think I sent that to some of my training partners like a week ago on Running Warehouse that was there. I was like, if it doesn't sell out, that's a good one. Go get it for workouts and things. If you can find, I know Adidas always runs pretty good sales when they do new models. Like every once in a while, you could see the Adios 8 or the Boston. We checked right before the recording. There wasn't anything super great on the Boston right now, but sometimes you could snag Adios or a Boston for pretty darn cheap because they'll just release a new colorway and then discount it like 50% for some reason. Like, I don't know why Adidas does that, but it's great. I'm not complaining.
No, it is great for us, isn't it?
But yeah, those are my picks. Yeah.
Well, my number one pick, which of course will not surprise anyone, is the Brooks Hyperion Max is on sale right now at Brooks and other websites. It's normally $170. It's on sale for $110. I got a pair for a little less than that from Dick's a couple months ago. So, I mean, those who follow the podcast know that's like my all-time favorite shoe besides the New Balance Beacon. So I am hoarding Hyperion Maxes because, of course, they're updating it and hopefully they don't ruin it. But if they do, at least I'll have my stockpile to be prepared.
Yes.
As far as other shoes that are on sale, I saw that one colorway of the Topo Atmos is on sale. I've actually really been enjoying running in that shoe. I got it like months after you guys got it to review, so I didn't write up a review of it, but it's been one of my favorite like easy run shoes to run in. I think I've got almost 100 miles on it this year. But like the Boston colorway of it, I think it's marked down like $40 or something. So check that out.
Out of curiosity, I just Googled one. My daily trainer of the year last year is currently on sale pretty hard. The Nike Vomero 17 for $111.97 at Nike right now.
I liked that shoe too. That was really a nice shoe to run in.
So 110 for that shoe is awesome. You have a little bit of Zoom X in there. It's durable. You have good traction. I was able to pretty much hit any run I wanted on that shoe. So
and it looks nice too. I wear mine to work because I got like a cool nice, and like blue and gold colorway. Actually looks a little. I mean, I definitely am not like a fashion sneaker person, but my Vomero is probably the closest one I've got.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I think my pick just changed to the Vomero because for $110, that's actually a great deal.
Oh yeah, that is a great deal. Nike does have some pretty good sales and like surprising ones. Like they'll put same thing like with Adidas. They'll put colorways on sale because they're coming out with new ones.
Yeah, it's like not even a new model. It's just like they just we're like, just rolling out some orange ones. Here, you can take the green ones for cheap.
Right.
Like, it's like, sweet, don't mind me. I'll grab all of them. Yeah.
So so we've covered daily trainer, max stack, performance trainer, racing, and 2023 shoe that's on sale. Anything else we should mention before we wrap up?
Have there been any and it's totally okay if there isn't, but have there been any like trail shoes or anything that you've liked this year or that you've run in?
Let's see. None that I really loved. I was a little disappointed with the Peregrine. They definitely changed the feel of it. I haven't tested too many trail shoes this year. Yeah,
I feel like we're usually a little light on that category.
Yeah.
I feel like I got all of them this year, and then I got them all right when I got hurt. So the data is slowly trickling in here. The new model from La Sportiva, the Prodigio, is pretty nice.
Oh yeah.
I'm liking that one. I just wish the heel collar on it's pretty thin. Like the upper locks in really good, and it's really like supportive, and it doesn't stretch much like with forces going in either direction, which is good when you're on the trails. But it does feel like it just bites in a little bit. Like I just kind of wish there was a little bit of padding there, just a little bit more.
Yeah.
But that shoe's really promising. The Speed Goat just came in. I haven't run in it, so I can't speak on it. But we'll try and get some trail stuff out there soon.
Oh, you know what just showed up for me is the Reebok Adventure.
The Float Zig one.
Float Zig Adventure. Yeah. I think that's what they're calling it, which is basically like the updated adventure line. Float Ride Adventure, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, they basically just put like a Symmetros outsole on it and then...
Yeah. I liked the previous versions of the Float Ride Adventure, and this one, feels slightly similar, although that, the Symmetros outsole is a little different. So I'm excited to try that one because that's a nice, like, if it's similar to the previous versions, it's a nice road to trail shoe. It's not so traily that it's uncomfortable on pavement. So that'll be a fun one to get some miles on.
Yeah. Sweet. I think we covered it.
I think we did too. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but in the past week, I think I've gotten 5 pairs of shoes to test. So we've got so many more to get miles on.
Totally.
And we're only halfway through 2024. So it'll be exciting to see what comes out and whether our picks stand in December.
Right. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining me earlier on a Sunday, David.
I know, If you guys are watching on YouTube, I'm like sipping from a coffee mug over here. I'm like, I finished my long run, scarfed down some food, and I was like, I got to get on the recording with Andrea.
Yeah. It's since we're, Matt and David are in California, I'm in Connecticut, Nathan's in Wisconsin. The guys usually record later on Sunday nights. And, me being the elder of the group, I have to go to bed early. So that's why I don't normally record with them. So David was kind enough to record with me at my senior hour today. So I greatly appreciated David.
Of course, anytime. It's always fun recording with you. I feel like we don't record together enough.
I don't think you and I have ever done just a David and Andrea episode together.
I don't think we have. So, yeah. Only ever like a group one, where it looks like the Brady Bunch and there's like 4 of us or something. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again.
We will.
We can talk about track.
There we go.
Yeah.
It'll just be hot takes spikes from the Olympics.
Yeah.
And just
yes. It can be like when...
Who pushed who? Who got DQ'd? They stepped inside the rail? No one saw it? Who's on EPO on today's episode of... No.
Right.
No.
Nope. We'll come up with some other ideas.
I feel like there's like so many ideas that we had, and like Nate and Bach are like, no, don't do it.
Yeah, I know. They shut down a lot of our ideas, which I felt was very rude.
Like, we
just because they have nothing to do with. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, we'll do this again.
Well, yes. Well, thank you all for listening. We hope you enjoyed this special David and Andrea episode of our favorite picks so far for 2024. Please definitely leave us comments. We want to know both your favorite shoes thus far and what David should put up on his wall behind him. One may be more important than others, but I think David needs a little decoration back there. So leave us a comment on YouTube, shoot us an email at doctorsofrunning@gmail.com, and we'll see you next time.